Hello, hello students. Today I am going to discuss you about the use case approach. जैसे कि लास्ट लेक्चर में हम लोगों ने देखा था कि हमारा जो रिक्वायरमेंट इंजीनियरिंग होता है, रिक्वायरमेंट इंजीनियरिंग एक सॉफ्टवेयर कुछ बड़े सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोजेक्ट का एक अनअवॉइडेबल पार्ट होता है। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग में जो हमारी रिक्वायरमेंट होती है, किसी बड़े सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोजेक्ट में जो हमारी रिक्वायरमेंट्स होती हैं, वो रिक्वायरमेंट्स हमारी टाइम से टाइम बदलती रहती है। क्योंकि हमने देखा था उसमें रिक्वायरमेंट हमारी तीन तरह की होती है। एक तो होती है हमारी फंक्शनल रिक्वायरमेंट, सेकंड वन होती है हमारी नॉन फंक्शनल रिक्वायरमेंट, और जो थर्ड वन होती है वो हमारी होती है अनड्रीम्ड रिक्वायरमेंट। तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, फंक्शनल रिक्वायरमेंट क्या होती है? Functional requirement means the functionality the client expects from your system or your project. Because, for example, in a bank management related project, user will ask for functionality to deposit money, to withdraw money, like that. But these are called the functional requirement. Functional requirements can be easily defined in certain steps, and they are particular about what will be the step or procedure that you have to follow to get the desired output. The functional requirements are very specific and they can be explained in simple technical terms. But the another kind of requirement, that is of non-functional requirement. This kind of requirement is the requirement in which you check out corresponding the performance level, reliability level, quality level requirements. That suppose कि अगर एक गाड़ी है, एक ट्रैक है, 100 किलोमीटर डिस्टेंस आपको कवर करनी है, उस 100 किलोमीटर डिस्टेंस को कवर करने के लिए you may use cycle, you may use two-wheeler, you may either use four-wheeler. So सबकी all these vehicles are capable to fulfill the requirement of going from one place to the another. But the point is that if you want to reach there within 30-20 minutes, then it is not possible with a bicycle that you will move from place A to place B, which are at 100-kilometer distance apart, in 30-20 minutes. So it will be very difficult. For that, we need four-wheeler. Here, performance is the criteria. All are capable to fulfill the requirement, but you need the performance requirement. So like this, in software field also, the requirement that related with the performance quality. Suppose you have built a software that is capable of taking the load of the 100 machines, but the client asks you for a server that can handle 10,000 of consumer base. So here, both the server are able to fulfill the requirement of the client, but the customer requirement is that it should work efficiently with at least 10,000 customer base. Here, the reliability is the non-functional requirement. The next thing is undreamed requirement. In undreamed requirement, they are requirements that are very different. They are very different, and in these, the the difference is that even the client or the customer, they do not expect that what will be the required at the later stage, because these things get clear when you move forward. This kinds of requirements are called the undreamed requirement. As you know that in the software field, we generally start working or perform in the new innovative idea fields, where even the client and the developer are not very sure about what they are actually going to construct or what they actually want to make, what they expect. So in that situation, the client and developer may expect that at the runtime, they would be some new requirement will come and they have to process these. So these are in changing requirements or runtime demands. It's very specific that you perform the requirement engineering in very efficient way. The one of the tool that is used for this requirement engineering is the use case approach. Use case approach, uh, this focus on that what the user need to do with the system in much more powerful way than the traditional elicitation approach of asking user what they want the system to do. It means besides asking the question or giving the questionnaire to the client, we focus on what the user will need from the system, and here we consider system as a black box and usko black box मानते हैं, and we just find out that what the user want. Now we shall show that what the user want or what the system should perform, not how it will perform. We are only interested in what the system will do, not how the system will do. So ये फर्क है. And we can say that the use case diagram is the combination of the text and the picture in order to improve the understanding of the requirement. इसमें हम लोग कुछ text use करते हैं और कुछ पिक्चर्स यूज करते हैं जिससे कि क्लाइंट अपने सिस्टम को ज्यादा बेटर तरीके से समझ सके. इन यूज केस डायग्राम्स जो बात करते हैं तो उसके अंदर तीन कैटेगरीज में उसको डिवाइड कर सकते हैं. देयर आर द फर्स्ट वन द यूज केस, द सेकंड वन यूज केस सिनेरियो एंड द थर्ड वन इज यूज केस डायग्राम. इन जनरल पीपल थिंक that all these three are same, but there is a difference in between these. Like in the use cases are the structured outline or template for the description of user requirements and modeled in structured language like English. तो use case जो होते हैं वो structured language जैसे कि English हुई, उसके अंदर सिस्टम को एक्सप्लेन किया जाता है. इट फॉलोज अ सर्टेन स्ट्रक्चर्ड टेम्पलेट. देयर आर वेल डिफाइंड टेम्पलेट मींस फॉर्मेट. तो मतलब हमारा जो स्ट्रक्चर सिस्टम का होगा दैट इज एक्सप्लेन यूजिंग द स्ट्रक्चर्ड लैंग्वेज लाइक इंग्लिश एंड इट इज वेल स्ट्रक्चर्ड. And at every action that user may take is defined in simple English language, and it is well defined how this particular action will be taken by user. The certain step that will take in action. An action may be result of the multiple steps, and here we define each and every step specifically. What the user will take and what kind of output he will get. जो इसमें होता है जैसे यूज केस डायग्राम क्या होगा. यूज केस डायग्राम आपका अनस्ट्रक्चर्ड डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ यूजर रिक्वायरमेंट होता है. यूज केस डायग्राम इसको समझने के लिए सपोज हम एक सिस्टम इमेजिन करते हैं कि वी हैव यूज रिमोट कंट्रोल फैन जिसको हम लोग कर रहे हैं सिस्टम से कंट्रोल कर रहे हैं, जिसको हमने एक सिस्टम बनाया है और उसके अंदर हम लोग 2 बटन का यूज कर रहे हैं. उसमें 1 से हम ऑन, 1 मीन्स ऑन, 0 मीन्स ऑफ, and we are instead of using the normal switch, we are using a sensor based switch. That sensor, when we press 1 on the system, the electronics the sensor based switch will receive on and it will on the fan, and on getting the input through the 0 keyboard, it will get the value, it will switch off the circuit. So by giving command on the system, we are pressing 1 for on and 0 for off. 1, we press command 1 when we want to decrease the temperature of the room, and we press command 0 when we want to increase or make the room stabilize the temperature of the room. So here, if you just define that on the switch start the fan or off the fan, room will cool. No, then that will be called as the if you in the diagram you show that clearly shows that the fan is rotating, temperature cool, and in another diagram you show that fan is not rotating and temperature is stable. Then that will be called a user case scenario. But in use case, you will define that on pressing the input 1, switch will circuit on and fan will start rotate, and then temperature will go down. And in case in use case 2, user press the button 0, the switch circuit will disconnect and fan stop rotating and temperature remain stable. So that will be called the use case. This is the difference. In use case scenario, you do not define the detailed step. That is very unstructured. But in use case diagram, you well define the particular actions the user takes to get the desired output. And finally, the use case diagram. The use case diagrams are the graphical representation that may be decomposed into further level of abstraction. Use case diagram. First, we construct a use case diagram that simply define a system, the basic functionalities of the system, and at the second level we further elaborate that functionality in another use case diagram. By doing this, we maintain a hierarchy between the different use case diagram, or we actually decompose the levels into level of abstractions. So this kind of hierarchy makes helps in client understanding the actual system that he will get, instead of directly in simple and structured way explaining that what the user will get. So in use case diagram is a combination of text and picture in order to improve the understanding of the requirement. It simply shows what the system will do, not how the system will do. This is used for making the client better understand the proposed system and to get most of the requirement through the client. In this, there are 3 terms that are used: the use case, second one use case scenario, and third one is use case diagram. Use case are designed using the structured outline or template. Use case scenario are designed using the unstructured description of the user requirement, and use case diagram are the graphical representation that may be decomposed into further level of abstraction. Now we shall discuss what are the components of the use case diagram. So for first component that we are going to discuss is the actor. We are defining the system by a rectangular box, and another term that the user or that particular interact with the system is called the external or agent or actor. This one lies outside the system model but interacts with it in some way. An actor may be a person, maybe a machine, or maybe a information system that is external to the system model. He must not be the part of the system. He is outside the system. External agent or actor is represented by the stick diagram and is not part of the system itself. Customer, user, external device, or any external entity interacting with the system are treated as actor. So it means actor is someone who works on the system with particular goal in the mind to get the desired output. He is called the actor. He can be used with the stick diagram. Suppose if a human being is the actor, then a figure of human will be marked as to mark an actor as a human. If it is a computer, then a simple computer symbol will be used to mark it as a actor. There are 2 types of actor: primary actor and secondary actor. The primary actor is the actor which have particular goal or intention because of which he interacts with the system to get the desired output. But the secondary actor have no particular goal in the mind. It is used by the primary actor just to for assistance. Okay, and it's also assists the system to get the desired goal. To make it more clear, just take an example. Suppose someone is writing a story, so and he is taking the help of writing the story on his laptop. He will take the help of the Microsoft Word. Here, he is here the primary actor is the author who is writing the story. He has a particular goal that he want to write a story, and his intention is to write a interesting story, and he is taking the help of the Microsoft Word to write these text. So for editing of the text, for formatting his text, but here Microsoft Word is not the primary actor. It is only assisting the system of the laptop to write a story in a better format. So here the person who is writing the story is the actual primary actor, and the Microsoft Word is the secondary actor, and the system is laptop. So, okay. So and another example that I took was the automatic remote controlled fan. In the remote controlled fan, you are using the computer to give the input 1 and 0 to the sensor based switch. Here, the user who want to decrease the temperature of the room is the primary actor, because he is pressing the buttons to get the desired output. But the computer is not the primary actor, because it has no goal in a particular goal in its mind to get the particular output. User primary actor has a goal to decrease the temperature of the room. Then he insert 1. If he wants to make the room temperature stable, he press the button 0 to give to off the circuit. So this is the difference between the primary actor and secondary actor. Now the formal definition is primary actor is one having a goal requiring the assistance of the system, and the secondary actor is the one from which the system need assistance. Okay. Now the second case is use case. Use case is initiated by a user with particular goal in the mind and completes successfully when the goal is satisfied. It describes the sequence of the interaction between the actor and the system necessary to deliver the service that satisfies the goal. It includes all the possible variant of the sequence. In use case diagram, we find out what could be the possible sequence in which the different sequences in which the user can interact with the systems. You have to write down all the possible scenarios. Suppose somebody drives a car, he may enter into the cars. He will first press the clutch, then he would press the accelerator, and they will start moving the car. But suppose somebody who is not familiar with the working of the car enters into the car, and he suddenly press the accelerator, and then he tried to, instead of pressing the clutch, he tried to shift the gear. Then what outcome would be? In that situation, that would be the fail scenario. Car will rush for a second and stop, will bang, or in that situation, we should make sure that gear will shift only if the clutch would be pressed. So here all the possible user scenarios should be well defined, so that we should not leave any possible scenario that could come. So for that, we must understand that what are the different types of actor. For example, for a car, The someone who is driving the car could be the beginner, could be the who is somebody learning how to drive. He could be an expert, and he could be an expert. Depending upon all these things, first we should classify our actor. And besides this, considering all these actors, what could be the possible scenario or different sequence of actions that could be taken for each actor, all the for each possible sequence of act, we should design a specific use case diagram. It means if there are n actor, and if each of the n actor, for suppose the n1 to n, first actor can take two types of action, second can take three type of, like this, then we should write one particular use case diagram for every actor for particular action. And we should not focus only on the desired goal only. We suppose there are alternative methods to get the same goal. If there are more than one ways to get the desired goal, we should specify both of them in different use case diagram. And in case user does not follow either of these options but use something else, then we should design a sequence in which he get failed. Suppose a user enters into the car and he suddenly leaves the gear, release the clutch. Then at that situation, car should stop, so that this kind of sudden release of clutch could harm the gear system, because they will start suddenly, they will start running, and that could strike the head of the clutch. So in that situation, so in use case diagram, first we should identify different kind of actor who can interact with the system, what are the possible set of the sequence that they can take, and what are the different alternative which a user can take to get the desired goal. तो हमें ये सारी चीजें ध्यान रखनी पड़ेंगी. तो ये use case are written in an easy to understand structured narrative. तो इन सारे जो यूजर केस डायग्राम लिखते हैं, इनको आपको बहुत सिंपल लैंग्वेज में ही लिखना होता है. The user may validate the use case and may involve in the process of gathering and defining the requirements. तो यूजर जब use case diagram are validated by the users so that they are easily understandable or not, or there are some doubts in his mind. So he can suppose you are considering that every user will first press the clutch and then he will shift the gear, and you have designed a machine, but you have not imagined about the situation where the user first try to shift the gear instead of pressing the clutch button. So then in that situation, he would manually try to shift the gear without pressing the clutch button. In that case, the clutch could decay, it could harm clutch system. So in that situation, you should make sure that the particular guideline should be given to the user, so that he can understand that the possible sequence. And in that situation, clutch should get locked if gear is not pressed. So considering all the events, you provide a better machine. So for the use case diagram, there is no standard template for writing the use case diagram, but the Jackson proposed a template for writing the use case diagram, and most of the companies follow this kind of template as shown in figure table 3.1a and 3.1b. So basically, there is no hard guideline, no standard template for writing the use case diagram, but in general, we follow the following use case diagram that I am going to show you in diagram 3.1a and 3.1b. This is 3.1b and 3.1b and 3.1a. Okay. Now there are certain guidelines. There is no standard template, but there are certain guidelines the user should follow while constructing a use case diagram. So here, uh, first what we do, as I told you, first identify all the different user of the system. Here we find out what are the different type of actor or external agent who would interact with the system. Then second, we create a user profile for each category of the user, including all the roles the user plays and that are relevant to the system. For each role, identify all the significant goals and the user have that the system will support. The statement of the system value proposition is useful in identifying significant goals. If we are considering different type of user and what are the different goal these different actors would expect, considering all the different goal, what kind of action the user different actor could take for all the users, for all their intentions or goals, we shall create a particular use case diagram. None of the scenarios should be left because that may create bug or error in the system later on. So we shall find out what are the different actors who would interact with the system, what could be the different goal of these actor, and for every user and for considering their particular goal, what could be the possible action they could take. And we should write down all the possible scenario. Now the third one is to create a use case for each goal following the use case template. Maintain the same level of abstraction throughout the use case. Step in higher level use cases may be treated as goal for lower level sub cases. Suppose if you are using a certain language to mark a particular action taken by the user, then you should use the same vocabulary throughout the use case diagram for that particular action, whether they are higher level abstraction at the higher level or lower level. The steps in the higher level may be treated as goal for the lower level. As I have defined you that if you are defining a use case diagram at lower level and you want to further elaborate one particular part of the system, then you would use further higher level use case diagram for that situations. The next one is the guideline is structure the use cases. Avoid over structuring, as this can make the use case diagram difficult to follow. But do not try to make all the possible action or define most of the multiple options for the particular goal in a single use case diagram, because by you doing this you will complicate the system. A user case diagram should be that much simple so that user can easily understand its main functionality, and if you want to further elaborate the rest of the function, you can use another diagram or higher level diagram to explain it further. For basic operation, he first try to make the client understand the basic functionality of the system. And next, review and validate. That is the must for each and every software, that you should give time to time update and take time to time updates from the customer, so that what problem that has occurred in the system, and you should remove that problem by updating the terms. So these are the guidelines for the use case diagram. Now I'm going to show you the use case template. Now take a look. As I have told you, there is no particular template, but here we follow, as per guidelines, we generally follow these ones. The first format has the fields, brief description, second actors, third flow of event, basic flow, alternative flows, fourth, special requirement, fifth, preconditions, sixth, post condition, and extension points. So here, in brief description, describe a quick background of the use case. What are the situation and what the system will do, what will be the objective and scope of the project. Okay, first you define the brief description in simple English language. Why are you making the system? What are the goals and objective of the project? Second, actor. List the actor that interact and participate in use case diagram. We identify the particular type of different type of actor that could interact with the system, and we classify these actors accordingly. Third, flow of event. Basic flow. List the primary event that will occur with this use case in if executed. And next, the alternative flow, and any subsidiary event that can occur in the use case should be separately listed. List each such event as an alternative flow. Like first, we shall find out the what are the basic procedure, what are the main system, mainstream of the sequence which should be followed to get the desired output. In case somebody choose some different options, then what could be the output accordingly. We should identify every possible scenario, and as per different action that user can take, we should explain the alternative flow also. Means the flow of the sequence that are used by following the standard procedure or basic flow, and the action that are different options that user can take at each point, that is considered as the alternative flow. Special requirement. Business rules for the basic and alternative flow should be listed as a special requirement in the use case narration. These business rules will always also be used for writing test cases. Both success and failure scenarios should be described here. So business rules for basic alternative should be listed as a special requirement. जो बिजनेस के रूल्स हैं और जो अल्टरनेटिव फ्लो हैं वो आपके स्पेशल लिस्ट शुड बी ऐसे स्पेशल रिक्वायरमेंट आपके यूज केस नरेशन में डिफाइंड होने चाहिए जो आपके लिए आते हैं. दिस बिजनेस रूल विल आल्सो बी यूज्ड फॉर राइटिंग टेस्ट केसेस. तो जिनको ध्यान में रख करके आप चीजें कंसीडर कर रहे हैं, सपोज उनकी यूज केस डायग्राम आप कुछ कंडीशंस होती हैं जो वेरिएबल होती है उसके अकॉर्डिंगली चेंज कर रहे हैं, जैसे गवर्नमेंट अपना रेपो रेट कम कर रही है या वो कर रही है, उसके अकॉर्डिंगली आप उसके अकॉर्डिंगली इंटरेस्ट कैलकुलेट अरे इंटरेस्ट रेट चेंज कर रही है तो आप इंटरेस्ट अलग अलग सीन में चेंज करेंगे. तो दैट शुड बी वेल डिफाइंड इन दैट. बोथ सक्सेस एंड फेलियर सिनेरियो शुड बी डिस्क्राइब्ड हियर. The precondition means precondition that need to be satisfied for the use case diagram to perform. What are the precondition that you require that the software will work? जैसे आप लिखते हैं software requirement या hardware requirement for a software to run. तो precondition लिखते हैं कि आप web based software बना रहे हैं तो at least internet speed certain level पे होनी चाहिए. तो that are the preconditions. तो ये सारी चीजें होंगी. सिस्टम में इतनी मेमोरी होनी चाहिए. So these all things are memory requirements or different things that you expect as a software or hardware or network related requirement are called the preconditions. Post condition define the different state in which you expect the system to be in after the user execute. Every time it's not possible this machine will run successfully. Sometime it happens that machine hang out, and that situation what you should do, suppose some data get corrupted, then what you should do, some function module get stop working or malfunction, then what you should do. All these kinds are post conditions and some are extension point. The next format is this one. Take a look. So here, this one is the same. The introduction, actor, precondition, post-condition, flow of events, special requirement related, only the sequence are different. So I have given you the brief idea of the use case diagram and the template of the use case diagram. And these are the basics thing that user case diagram should have. So this is very important tool that is used in the software engineering. In I stop you here. Next in next lecture, I shall discuss example of example with help of which you will better understand the use case diagram. Closing there.